Holy crap, Sarah J. Maas. What the heck? Like, seriously, what the heck? I mean, wow. Okay, so today we're talking about Crescent City II, or House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas, and most people that have read this book are a little bit shook getting to the end of it. There is so much going on in this book, and today we're going to talk about that a little bit. First half of this video is going to be completely spoiler-free, and then near the end I'm going to go into some spoilers. I will make sure there are plenty of warnings there for you to know if you haven't read the book yet or you haven't finished it yet, so that you don't get anything spoiled for you. So, like I said, there is so much going on in this book. There are new characters, there are expansion of existing characters, holy cow, there's so much going on. It's so funny because these two books were so close together in size, even though there's some weird book magic going on that make this one look thicker than the other one, even though there's only a couple page difference. It's just over 800 pages, and this was such an info dump from beginning to end, and there's so much going on. Holy cow, I can't say that enough. You are going to be inundated with information in this book. There are so many connections made in this book. There's more going on between where this book took place and Pangera. There's, at least I think that's how you say it, Pangera. There is more Asteri involvement, and I said that wrong in my last video. I said Arturi, I don't know where the heck that came from, but Asteri, that the overlords of everything that seems to be, and there's more going on in Pangera. Like I said, we get to see the Eternal City. We learn more about Danica and everything Danica was doing that Bryce didn't know about. Holy cow, there's so much going on. One thing I want to tell you about House of Sky and Breath is, like I said, there are new characters introduced. If you are the type of person that normally skips the prologue of a book, in this case, do not. It is very important that you read the prologue of this book. Prologue and epilogue. Read them. I don't know why anyone would not read the prologue of a book, but definitely read the prologue of this book. It's very, very important. I will just tell you that right now. This book is very fast-paced. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of action. It's not just necessarily building up to one thing at the end. There is a lot going on throughout the entire book. There's exploration of different characters. There's quite a bit going on, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Like I said, there's new characters. There's no way that this is going to be a trilogy. I don't think that it's ever been indicated that this is only going to be a trilogy. I can't believe I have to wait 1 to 2 years to read the next book in this series after how this one ended. Major cliffhanger, and I can't say enough about this book. One thing that did irritate the heck out of me about this book, and I don't understand why publishers do this. If you see the difference here, you can see how House of Sky, Earth and Blood is up here, and how House of Sky and Breath, I'm still wrapping my tongue around all these, is down here. I don't like this differentiation between the covers. They got it right on the spines. It looks the same there, but I don't get this at all. I don't like it. I don't understand it. I don't know why they did it that way. Maybe these were an afterthought. These names were an afterthought. Maybe they were just going to call it Crescent City 1, 2, 3, whatever. But either way, they should have just done something similar to this on the second book. To me, that's my personal taste. That's probably the only thing I don't like about this book. There is some fantastic art in this book. If you look in the front cover, this is spectacular. I love this. We all assume this is Hunt, and it's a beautiful depiction of the character. I don't know who did the art, but it is fantastic. There is the same map. You guys all know me in maps. It's the same map, one-page map in this book. I'm a little frustrated by that because of the fact that they do go to Pangea. There is no map of where they go to Pangea. That bugs me a little bit. I wish, because they went there, that there was a second map to show that and show that transition. Hopefully, if there's more time spent in Pangea in the next book, that they will have another map showing that. And I really wish they would expand the map in this one, but I understand, you know, it's not a big thing for some people as much as it is for me. But I hope that if they do spend a lot of time in Pangea, that there is another map in the next book. Basically, that's all I have to say. That's pretty much spoiler free. I know this book has only been out a couple of weeks, so I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I definitely, if you read book one and you enjoyed it, this one to me was even better than the first one. It was faster paced than the first one because there was so much world building going on in that one. There is some world building going on in this one as well. But the first one dragged a little bit at the beginning. This one, right from the get-go, you're flying through it. I think this took me about 3 to 4 days to read from cover to cover, and it didn't seem like anything. I didn't want to put it down, which is pretty good. That one I didn't read quite as quickly. That one I struggled with a bit at the beginning just because of the world building. And it's a completely new world from her other series, so it took me a while to adjust to the characters and the world and everything that was going on, like I said in my last video, which I will link down below if you haven't watched the video on Crescent City I, House of Earth and Blood. If you haven't watched that video, I will link that down below. And while you're down there, if you haven't already, please take the time to like this video, hit subscribe so you can see more videos about books that I read and suggestions that I make to you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the spoiler section of this video. So if you haven't read this book or haven't finished reading this book and don't want any surprises spoiled for you, now is the time to click away. If you haven't clicked away, I'm giving you a few seconds to click away if you haven't read this book yet. Spoilers are coming. I'm giving you the warning now. Are you gone? Are you still here? If you're still here, great. Let's talk about this book in depth a little bit more. There is so much going on in this book, like I said. We've got a new archangel and Celestina. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And we learn about another race, I guess you could say, the Thunderbirds, which were almost killed off, or have pretty much, everybody assumes, all the characters in the book assume, that have been killed off by the Asteri. Sophie, the character in the prologue, was one of these Thunderbirds. Whether they are completely all gone, I'm getting the assumption that maybe they're not, but who knows? You know, Sarah hasn't told us about that yet. She's just inferred that these Thunderbirds are out there. Now, unfortunately, we see Sophie eliminated at the beginning of the book in the prologue, and we come to find out that her brother Emil actually isn't a Thunderbird. Emil? Yeah, I think it was Emil. He isn't a Thunderbird. He doesn't have the power, which was part of the whole storyline of chasing him, trying to catch him. And that leads me to the River Queen, Therion's future mother-in-law, who he can't stand. The queen of the Mer people in the river, that particular section of the Mer people. I don't like her character. I don't think and maybe that's the way I'm supposed to feel, but she hasn't really been expanded enough, and I don't know why we're supposed to care about that character at all, or even if we are. Maybe she's just a plot device for Tharion's character, and even Tharion to a certain degree. His character's kind of just I don't really care. He's there. I'm torn on him so far, but I was torn on some characters in the first book as well. So maybe Tharion's story will expand a little bit, and I'll give a damn a bit more. I don't know, but I feel like we're kind of being forced to like Tharion in a way, or feel for Tharion. I don't know. Maybe that feeling will change in subsequent books. Speaking of mer people, however you want to say it, we're introduced to a new group of Mir, and it almost seems like they would love it if Tharion came and joined their group. I don't know if he will eventually. I kind of got the feeling that that's the direction they were going to take it, that he was going to leave the River Queen's court and defect to the other. And maybe we'll see that in a future book. That's just something that I'm surmising, that maybe there will come a thing where, as we all know, he's kind of sworn his allegiance to the Viper Queen right now to get him away from the Mare Queen, maybe, or the River Queen, sorry. And maybe in future there will be some kind of way to get him so that he's back with his own people, and but with this other court. Another character we got introduced to was Cormac. He was from the Avalon Fae, and he was introduced as a potential fiance for Bryce. Now, that was a weird part to the story. I knew I pretty much guessed throughout the entire story that there was going to be more to it than that, and it turns out we did see that Cormac was part of the rebels, the Ophion, or whatever you want to call them. It was referred to that he died in that battle in Pangera near the end. I'm not convinced that he actually did, because one of his things was fire, and they said that he went up in a blaze, and I'm not 100% convinced that Cormac is actually dead. So we'll have to wait and see the next book, or the next set of books, and see if he actually was killed in that battle or not. Speaking of characters, we got the new Archangel Celestina, and she was forced into an arranged marriage and mating to Ephraim, who is another Archangel from Pangera. And there were some interesting things going on here, because we come to learn that Celestina, and this is a weird kind of circle of people here. We learned that Celestina was actually in a relationship with Hypaxia, who is actually the Hind's sister. The Hind turns out to be Day, and Day kind of wants to be in a relationship with Rune, and Rune can't stand Ephraim, and it goes in a circle here, and that's just kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure where she's going to take all that. It's fascinating. I really like that little love circle that we've got going on there. And speaking of the Hind being Day, well, that's interesting for me, because of day and night, and how the book ended, with night courts and things such as that. I really hope you left if you haven't read this book yet. So but I guessed that Day was the Hind almost immediately. I was saying, that's the Hind, when she said something to the effect of about her controlling husband, and he pulled her away from their conversation, etc., for other things. I guessed almost immediately that it was the Hind. We learned about hellhounds and how they turn into, how there's shapeshifters that turn into more dogs than wolves, like Ethan and those other characters. We learned about, and I still think that Ethan is going to become Prime. I'm not 100% sure. Either that, or he is going to rescue the mystic that is a Fenrir descendant and a true Fendir, a true Fendir descendant, and he is going to rescue her, and she will eventually become Prime over Sabine, and that's going to set up a whole dynamic between Ethan and this new Alpha, and a battle between them for Prime. But I think the current Prime, the older Prime currently, would prefer Ethan to step into that role. Speaking of the wolves and Danica, we learn a lot more about how Danica was interacting with Sophie, which we didn't know before, and we found out that Danica actually had a mate in the Hellhound. That spun Hunt and Bryce, that spun them for a loop when they found that out, but that made more sense later on in the book. We understand why he was kind of trying to help and protect Hunt and Bryce from the things that they were involved in. Bryce started practicing with her magic a little bit, and it's interesting because Bryce is Bryce is almost like a battery. She needs to be charged by somebody else, like when Hunt would charge her up with electricity, hitting the star that's on her chest and energizing her so that she had all of this power. She still has some power without that, but this really energizes her. Now, with what happened with her at the end of the book, perhaps she is going to learn to harness that power without this charging. And this is just speculation on my part with where she went. Hopefully she gets a little better grasp on her power, maybe somebody there that can help her, and we'll see. Who knows? Speaking towards the end of the book, we also learned that hell is not necessarily a place, it's a planet, which brings about a whole new dynamic for this world. So basically, towards the end of the book, it kind of took on she kind of threw in some sci-fi into this fantasy world, if you want to look at it that way. I kind of did, because now you're talking about different planets versus different dimensions, or whatever the case may be. You're talking different planets and different worlds. So there's going to be a lot of tie-in here. So you get the Asteri, who are, we find out with Bryce breaking into the vault in the Eternal City, that the Asteri are actually using the life light out of people in Crescent City and this world as food. So basically the Asteri are conquerors and basically parasites. They come to a world and they take it over and use it for food, use the people for food. So, and the first light is absorbed from people, and that's how they survive. And that took on a whole other dynamic. I did not see it going down that road at all. I didn't understand what the Asteri were, but now it almost seems like they're an alien race that has come to this world and other worlds, we learn, and they were fought off by the denizens of hell. Their armies were able to rise up and rid hell of the Asteri, and I think that's maybe why the seven princes of hell, or whoever, are trying to say, okay, we're here to help. If you want us to help you get rid of the Asteri, we're not necessarily your enemy. we're trying to get rid of them. So I don't know where that vein's going to go, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, as far as how the book ended, I literally read that last line, and my girlfriend was in the other room, and all she heard was "what the" out loud, and she she started laughing at me, and I was like, she came into the room, and I was literally sitting there like, wow. You know, so now we know that Bryce has gone to the night court. She has been greeted by Rhysand, and now everything is starting to tie together. So some of the things that I took from that is that Rune's powers, Bryce's brother, his shadows resemble that of Rhysand's. So is there a connection there? Are they the same line of Fae as, are Rune's line of Fae the same line of Fae as Rhysand's? Oh my God, my brain can't handle all this. Now, there has been some puzzlement of Amren. Amren, I have two theories. My first theory was that Amren was an Asteri. That she was the seventh Asteri, and she was not actually killed by the princes of hell. She was sent to the world of the night court, and it seemed like she died. That's my first theory, that Amren is an Asteri. I could be dead wrong, but that's my first theory. My second theory is that perhaps she is the same race as Fury. We don't know what Fury is. We don't know Fury's powers. We don't understand very much about her. So, and that's very similar to Amren. And the way they describe the two characters, their appearance seems very similar. So maybe Fury and Amren are of the same race. I don't know. It's just a theory. Those two theories are what I have going on for Amren and how this is all connecting. There are some connections with Danica and the Throne of Glass and the whole Hellhound and the blood smelling, and it's, you know, then it's wild. I still can't wrap my head around some of these connections. I may actually have to go back and reread Throne of Glass now that I've read this second book, and see if I can pick up on some of the other connections, because it's been a long time since I read those books. I've read a lot of books in between them, so I may need to go reread some of those, or at least a synopsis, and see if I can make some more connections there. It's very, very interesting how she's tying this together. And one of the things that I thought of was, many fantasy readers know that Brandon Sanderson has his Cosmere and everything is kind of connected. Well, that's kind of what I see happening here. Sarah J. Maas is creating her own Cosmere. She's creating something that's all connected, and it's going to be wild when she brings it all to an end and all connected together. Will she ever end it? So now that we know that everything is all connected, where's this all going to go? Obviously, we've got the reluctant queen in Bryce, but she's not even on the Crescent City planet anymore. She is now in the Night Court. So how's that going to play out? Are we going to have a whole book of just her in the Night Court and trying to get back? I don't know how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting to see what she learns about herself there, and how, who knows, maybe Amren is an Asteri and she's going to tell her how to defeat the Asteri or something. Who knows? It's wild how this is all going to play out. Plus now too, we've got the whole thing that our Bryce and Hunt really actually mated. Who knows? We suspect that they are. It seems like they are. Are they though? And we've got, just as that happened near the end of this book, now they're separated. So how long are they going to be apart? What's going to happen while they're apart? We don't know. All I know is that if some people were reluctant reading book one, this is going to open up a whole other realm of possibilities for them. There was so much going on in this book. I can't wait for book three. I really am excited for book three. I don't know where she's going to take this, but if book three is at least as good as this one, we're in for quite the experience whenever that happens. I hope it's not 2 years, please. Anyway, if you like this summary of House of Sky and Breath and Crescent City II, whatever you want to call it, please, I hope that you will hit the like button down below. That helps me out a lot. And maybe take the time while you're down there to hit subscribe and come back for more book reviews. I'll definitely be talking about these things more. So I will see you again next time.